Turncoat by Jim Butcher is the 11th book in the Dresden Files series, set in Chicago, modern-day Chicago. This is a detective novel where the main character has and utilizes magic. This is a 545-page book with 49 chapters. It's quite a series, and this one is kind of I don't want to say a turnaround, but definitely a twist in that the character who has been hounding the main character, Morgan, shows up on his doorstep wounded and in trouble. Prior to this, in the early novels, Morgan had been trying to catch Harry, the main character, in the act of doing black magic, breaking the laws of magic, and trying to sentence him to death. He was suspicious of the main character because the main character had killed his mentor. The main character's mentor was doing black magic and trying to take over the main character's mind, and so the main character did battle and killed him. So that's one of the laws of magic: thou shalt not kill. And so that's where this whole story begins. There is a hidden benefit in that Morgan has 48 hours. He won an oak leaf from the summer fairy queen, and that's what he's using to hide himself from the White Council's tracking spells. So up against the timetable in that the turncoat, there is a traitor in the White Council, and nobody's been able to find him or her in the last, however many years throughout the whole book series. But now Harry, the main character, has 48 hours to do it, or else Morgan dies, and then he, the main character, is found as an accomplice, and then he dies, and then his apprentice, guilty by association, then dies. So it's like a giant mess. And there was a lot of different parts that I enjoyed, but the thing that I didn't like was there was no dragon, right? Like, ever since book 3, they've talked about a dragon. I've been waiting patiently for that. And there was no Susan. I've been rooting for Susan this whole series, and nothing in there. So kind of tease it along the way. This is a war with the vampires, but that's okay. So no Susan, no dragon. But there was a skinwalker, super crazy bad guy who can shapeshift and turn invisible through a veil, hide itself from vision, but you can still hear it and make noises and the smells and stuff. But brutally tough, hard to kill. Your best bet is to just run away or chase it away. So Harry enlists the help of his werewolf friends from book 2, I think it was. Georgia and Billy, I did really like that part. They are married and older, and it just, like, their whole storyline, they're minor characters, but they did a really good job, the author did, of writing them. Butters shows up briefly. I kind of dislike that he just kind of is like a filler kind of thing. I think he could do more, but I don't know. That was just something I was thinking of. I enjoyed that every time that Harry left his apartment, Molly was babysitting Morgan, and every time he walks in, they're always, at each other's throats. That was a really good comedic relief there. Let's see. The suspects, I was kind of wrong, but I suspected the captain of the Wardens. I suspected the gatekeeper, and Ancient Mai is also a senior member of the White Council, mainly because they just don't talk about the gatekeeper. They don't talk about Ancient Mai. So I figured the less we had heard about one of the senior council members, the more likely they were to be the traitor. So that was just, and I was off. I was wrong. So, but only kind of. So I won't spoil it for you. But I did like the main Edinburgh stronghold, right? Underground in tunnels, very ornate, very cool. We hear a lot more about the senior council, the members, right? The Morgan is in trouble because he was implicated in the murder of the LaFay senior council member. He, he wasn't talked about previously, but front and center here, and it was neat. We got to see Listens to Wind, another senior council member, so there was a lot of inner workings of the senior council, so I did like that quite a bit. I didn't like the captain, the warden's involvement with Harry. That just seemed a little off to me. Like she just kind of showed up and was like, "Hey, I like you now," kind of thing, and it just seemed odd. So that is part of the storyline. I don't want to give it away. I super liked the subcontractor. There is a private investigator following Harry and looking into him, and he ends up turning the tables and hiring him. So that was really cool. I liked that part. I'm glad that there hasn't been any time travel yet to this series. I always feel like entertainment series is kind of jump the shark when time travel happens, and so far that hasn't happened. So I've been really happy with this series. The Skinwalker battle was really cool, right? Harry's got his own home turf per se, and the Skinwalker is nearly invincible, and he gets a little bit of backup, but he's on the ropes, up against the timetable, and listens to wind is super cool. So that whole battle scene was really, really neat. This focused on the White Court internal politics. The Skinwalker shows up during a visit to the White Court of vampires, and really there was a lot of politics and inner workings, and that was really neat. I liked Binder too. He was a minor character, minor bad guy, but just being able to summon things from the Never Never was really cool. Like he's not a full-fledged wizard, but he has some ability, and I really liked that. So lots going on here. The battle scene was really cool. Yes, it was just an excellent twists and turns. It kept me guessing. I didn't guess correctly. I was only kind of right, but there were some quotes. Everyone dies. There is no if, only when. Harry was talking to Molly, his apprentice. That really stood out to me, right? We're all human. We all pass away. In this series, the wizards last more than 100 years, possibly even more than 200 years. So even though they live longer, they still pass away eventually. Another part was where Ebenezer was talking with Harry. So Ebenezer was Harry's mentor. He said master used to mean teacher, guide, expert, and now has a negative connotation. He talked about how people only remember the bad things and not the good. So that was kind of neat, kind of interesting. There's, like buzzwords can kind of get positive or negative over time. This was an excellent book. Tough to put down. I kept wanting to read more and more to figure out who the traitor was, and yeah, didn't disappoint. And as always, buy your books used if you can.